Imagine for a moment if I told you that you are now using humanity's greatest invention since writing, that this screen in front of you instantly connects you to more than 5 billion people on the planet. But what if I told you that this technological marvel you call the internet almost never existed? That it was born not to connect people, but to survive a nuclear war? This is the extraordinary story of how an ultra-secret military project transformed into the most powerful force in the modern world. A journey filled with genius, chance, and decisions that forever changed the course of human history. Prepare to discover how it all began, because what you're going to hear in the next 20 minutes will make you see the internet with different eyes forever. It was 1957. The world lived under the shadow of the Cold War. Two nuclear giants faced each other in a tension that could destroy civilization at any moment. Then something happened that deeply shook the United States. The Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite in history. That small metallic sphere, just 58 centimeters, was not just a scientific milestone. It was a clear signal that the Soviets were ahead in the technological race. Imagine the scene. Millions of Americans leaving their homes at night to observe that bright point cross in the sky. It was beautiful, but also terrifying. If the Soviets could put a satellite in orbit, they could also launch intercontinental nuclear missiles. The American government panicked. In response, it created an agency that would forever change the course of humanity. ARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Its mission was simple but ambitious. Ensure that the United States would never again be technologically surprised. Within this agency, a group of visionaries began to imagine something revolutionary. They wondered, what if a nuclear attack destroyed the military command centers? How could communications be kept functioning? The traditional answer would be to create ultra-secure bunkers, underground command centers. But these researchers thought differently. They imagined a communication network that would function like a spider web. If you cut some threads, the other paths would continue working. It was a radical idea for the time. All existing communication networks depended on central centers. If you destroyed the center, the entire network stopped. It was as if all the roads in the country passed through a single city, destroy that city and nothing else connects. But what if we could create a network where there was no center, where each point could communicate with any other point through multiple paths? It would be like having thousands of alternative roads to reach the same destination. In 1962, a young computer scientist wrote a series of memoranda that would change history. He described his vision of an intergalactic computer network. The name may sound like science fiction, but his idea was deeply practical. Connect computers from different universities and research centers to share resources and information. Here comes a fascinating detail that few know. In the 1960s, computers cost millions of dollars. They were enormous machines that occupied entire rooms and consumed enough energy to power a small city. Having access to a computer was a privilege of very few institutions. The brilliant idea was, what if we could share these expensive resources through a network? A researcher in California could use the processing power of a computer in Massachusetts without needing to travel 3,000 kilometers. But there was a gigantic technical problem. How to make different computers from different manufacturers with different languages talk to each other. It was like trying to make a Brazilian, a Chinese person, and an Arab communicate without any of them knowing each other's language. The solution came through a revolutionary idea called packet switching. It works like this. Imagine you want to send an entire book to a friend, but you can only send one page at a time, and each page can follow a different path through the postal service. You would number each page, send them all through different paths, and your friend would receive the pages out of order. Then he would reorganize everything using the page numbers and reconstruct the complete book. It seems complicated, but that's exactly how the internet works to this day. In October 1969, a moment happened that changed the history of humanity forever. A young programmer was sitting in front of a terminal at the University of California in Los Angeles, ready to make the first connection between two remote computers. He typed the first letter, L. On the other side, at Stanford University, 500 kilometers away, the letter appeared on the screen. Success. Then he typed O. Again, success. But when he tried to type G to form the word login, the system crashed. Ironically, the first internet message was hello, a word that in English can mean look or be an expression of surprise, as if the system itself was saying, look what we just did. That simple, almost trivial moment was the birth of the internet. Two computers had communicated across long distances for the first time in history. But the real magic was just beginning. In the following months, more universities joined the network. First there were 4, then 10, then 50. Each new connection exponentially multiplied the possibilities. Here something fascinating happens in human psychology. The creators imagined that the network would be used to share computational resources. But users had other ideas. They began using the network for something much more basic and powerful, to talk. The first email was sent in 1971. A systems engineer wanted to find a way to leave messages for his colleagues. He invented the @ symbol to separate the user's name from the computer's name. An elegant solution to a simple problem that created one of the most universal conventions of human communication. People began creating discussion lists, interest groups, virtual communities. Military technology was transforming into something completely different, a tool for human connection. But there was still a gigantic obstacle. The network was restricted to universities and research institutions. To the outside world, it simply didn't exist. It was like an exclusive club of the most privileged. In the 1980s, parallel commercial networks began to emerge. Companies and enthusiasts created their own smaller networks. But they didn't talk to each other. It was like having dozens of communication islands with no bridges connecting one to another. Then, in 1989, something happened that would change everything again. A young computer scientist working in a laboratory in Switzerland was frustrated with the difficulty of finding and sharing scientific information. He imagined a system where documents could be interconnected through links, like a gigantic library where each book could instantly take you to any other related book. He called his invention the World Wide Web. The genius of the web was its simplicity. Anyone could create a page, anyone could access it, and any page could connect to any other. It was democratic, decentralized, and infinitely expandable. In 1991, the scientist made a decision that would define humanity's future. He could have patented his invention and become the richest man in history. Instead, he gave it as a gift to the entire world. He put the World Wide Web in the public domain, free for anyone to use. Imagine the impact of this decision. If the web were proprietary, you might pay for each page you visited, for each link you clicked. The internet as we know it today simply would not exist. From 1993, the explosion was meteoric. The first graphical browser made the internet stop being a nerd's only thing and become accessible to ordinary people. Suddenly, you no longer needed to know programming to navigate the network. Companies began to realize the commercial potential. In 1995, the first online stores opened their virtual doors. Search engines were born to organize the growing chaos of information. Primitive social networks connected people with similar interests. But perhaps the most symbolic moment was in 1995, when a major online bookstore sold its first book. It was a work about artificial intelligence, as if the future was buying itself. From there, history accelerated exponentially. The dot-com bubble of the 2000s brought excesses, but also fundamental innovations. The bubble burst eliminated weak projects and strengthened those that really mattered. Then came mass social networks, smartphones that put the internet in the pockets of billions of people, cloud computing that made anyone a potential global content creator. Today, just 50 years after that first LO message, we have more than 5 billion connected people. Every day, we send 300 billion emails, watch 5 billion videos, perform 8.5 billion searches. The internet has become the most important infrastructure of modern civilization. More essential than roads, more vital than electrical systems, more fundamental than any other human creation. But here's the most incredible part. It all started with people trying to solve simple problems. How to keep military communications working during a war. How to share expensive computers. How to find scientific information more easily. None of the creators imagined they were building a second reality for humanity. A digital space where new types of relationships would be born, new forms of work, new ways of being human. Think about it. You probably spent more time today looking at a screen connected to the internet than looking into other people's eyes. Your friends include people you've never physically touched. You know more about strangers on the other side of the world than about your own neighbors. The internet didn't just change how we do things. It changed who we are as a species. It created a planetary collective intelligence where all of humanity's knowledge is just a few clicks away. And this is just the first phase. We're moving toward an era where the internet will be even more integrated into our existence. Virtual reality, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, technologies that will make the current digital revolution seem like just a warm-up. The question that remains is, if a military project to survive nuclear war transformed into the greatest force of human connection in history, what else is being invented right now that will completely change your future? Because one thing is certain. The history of the internet teaches us that the greatest revolutions always begin with someone trying to solve an apparently simple problem. And at this very moment, in laboratories, garages, and universities around the world, people are working on the simple problems that will create tomorrow's world. The internet you use today was born more than 50 years ago from a simple question: how to keep communications working. The next revolution may be born from equally simple questions that someone is asking right now. So tell me, what simple problem would you like to see solved? Because the history of the internet proves that the simplest solutions can change the world in ways we can't even imagine.